I don't know what that does, but we'll turn that on.
Wrong. I had the wrong video on. Sorry.
Come on,
Let's do
move.
that one.
There we go. Look at that. That's nice. That's nice. Look at that. That looks good. Hello, everybody. Justin and Dennis here. Welcome to the Masonic Improvement Broadcast Hour with your host, Justin Jones.
The Masonic Improvement Mark Broadcast Hour brought to you by Wheaties and what was that? Ovaltine.
Mmm.
Drink your Ovaltine.
We got Austin Berry's in the house, Brian Weber, Charles Smith, Brad Hoff, Bob Naylor. Did I
Nice.
say Austin Berry? Yeah, Austin Berry. That's who all's in chat. So we got a pretty good
Nice.
group already.
Thank you for joining us.
Yep.
Yeah, I hope it's a great show. I hope we live up to your expectations because this is all about your masonry and not ours.
Absolutely.
That's why we're doing this.
So I had something on mind I wanted to talk about for a little bit, but if you had something,
Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
so
I can talk on anything.
this isn't directed at any particular event, right? So I want to be clear about that. I'm not because
I always love it when it starts out
well,
like that.
because I talk at a lot of lodges, so I don't want anyone to say, "Well, he talked at my lodge. Is he talking about me?" No, I'm just talking about something that I have seen with guests coming to some of. I have seen with speakers. We'll just put it that way, okay?
Okay. Okay. Fair enough.
We talk a lot about education and the importance of having education and the importance
Yes.
of reaching out and getting people from out of house to come have talks and things like that.
Yes.
In some cases, you have people that might drive an hour, but some people might drive. I know personally, I drove like 3 hours one time. More than that, I just think of the specific time. But
Right.
I've drove to San Antonio before the talk. You and I have talked at Corpus. Um, my point is, speakers can and will often drive pretty far. If someone drives to your lodge and you know they're going to be driving home, right? Uh, you need to be sure that if you want education, you need to be sure that your business is concise and to the point, so you can get to.
Yes.
Because if someone drives 2.5 hours, 3 hours, whatever, to your lodge, they came to give a presentation,
Yeah.
and they're probably going to turn around, turn and burn, and go back home after that. If your
Yeah. And a
lodge,
lot of time it's free. So, we're giving up our time, our resources and gas and I mean it's a cost to somebody and so we're spending money to watch you read through your minutes verbatim.
yeah,
So and I never complain when I'm in lodge. I don't sound too ugly about anything, but it can be daunting
yeah,
going through all that.
and I'm not complaining either because it's just part of being a servant, right? Helping, like we say,
Right,
this is your
right.
Freemasonry. We're here to help your Freemasonry, but it's also it's kind of on your end. Be sure you're being considerate. Like if you don't have to address something that night, or if there's a way you can streamline that, please do that. Just do that. And I'm not talking. I'm not saying that for me. I'm saying that just for education in general. If you are,
Right,
really, this is what you. This is the mentality you should have. If you're having someone come talk at your lodge, that's the focus of your meeting that night,
right.
right? There's plenty of time to have a business meeting. Yeah. Let's look at the chat real quick because there's been comments on this. Brad Hoff says he just noticed that the Ouroboros is on the Masonic Improvements logo. Yeah, continuous improvement, man. Goes on and on and on. Austin Berry says suspend business until the next daily meeting and give it next give it give the time to your guest speaker. Yeah, there's there's
Yeah.
there's probably not anything that you're going to be talking about that's so important that can't be put off. If it is, do it quickly. Handle your business quickly. I'm just
Well,
saying.
and
Go ahead.
go ahead. Uh,
I was just gonna say real quick, if we're trying to get into this new era of Freemasonry where we're doing education, we're actually trying to improve our members and grow. I understand you have to have business meetings. That's part of having an organization. But if you're going to have education, make that the focus. Make that the focus that night. If you have someone driving 2, 3, 4 hours, hey guys, we're going to suspend everything that we don't have to address tonight, and do that another time, or have a called
Well,
meeting for your speaker. But
I want to,
go ahead,
now that you've had your rant, I'm going to have mine.
go for it.
No, just kidding. Um, I agree to some degree. To some degree, I agree. Um, I can
To
tell
some
you
degree, you
that,
agree. I
yes,
like
to
that.
some degree, I agree. And, I try to live by the rules and ideals of Hermeticism. And so to some degree, I agree. Um, I do agree that, when we're going to give presentations, it's nice to have a narrowed focus to where um, the evening is not consumed by the mundane. And my reason is not to because of me so much. It's more because I don't want to take away from the the brothers' experience that are there. So, there comes a point to where they start checking out involuntarily, and sometimes you can't reverse that. It's difficult.
Mhm.
And so it makes it difficult. It makes my job more difficult to recapture their um, enthusiasm for the moment that I get to have, which, that's a realistic issue with any speaker. We want to leave the right impression. Um, so we have to start with the right impression. It's why I dress the way I dress when I give a presentation. It's why I walk around and give my presentation so that I can help engage the craft. It's not. It's I sometimes will stand at a podium, but very rarely. I'm going to have to this week in at Alamo Lodge because I just had my shoulder surgery, and so I have to stand there to flip pages for my presentation. But because I'm not one of those guys who has a canned presentation that I can just give off at any time, because I write specific to every lodge. In fact, I'm in the middle of writing the presentation for Alamo Lodge right now. Actually, I'm dictating it, and it's a much slower process trying to dictate it with Microsoft. I mean, it's a cool service, but it does take a little bit of time and effort. But I would also like to say that lodges are now changing their culture and bringing these presentations during the meetings. So I get that.
Mhm.
I get that. And I think it's good because for now, they're just at the beginning stages to where they're introducing education back into their lodge. And this is how they're going to do it. And that's okay with me. I'm totally down with that. So, when it is with your regular stated meeting or whatever, just try to keep the minutes concise. You don't have to read out the full thing. In fact, now with today's resolutions or with this year's resolutions and new law, you can post them for that night.
Mhm.
Anytime you're going to have a speaker, and then that way you don't really have to read through them. The brothers can tell you if there's any corrections and make it a lot more streamlined in that way. Also,
Very true.
that's just a suggestion, but it's not something you have to do on my account by any means. Um, but I can certainly understand you wanting to bring it in, and right now this is the opportunity because the craft does not see the value in doing it outside of lodge yet. So um, they're still learning the value of that education, which is good. I'm
Yep.
glad that it's happening. So I'm down.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you though, there has been nothing more um, um, there's nothing more humble as a speaker than having a brother reach out and say, "I'm creating a night for you. Tell me when you can come up, and we're going to create an event on your time because we appreciate you coming and giving this presentation." Man, that's happening. I'm not going to say when and where right now because the time hasn't been solidified yet, but it's happening now. I'm also doing this in Washington State this year. I've got a couple of presentations I'm going to give within a week that they did the same thing. They created these events for me to come up and do these presentations.
Nice.
And they're paying for the Airbnb and all that kind of stuff. It's and of course they're able to by doing a couple of events in that week, it makes it a little bit more affordable because the cost gets dispersed with others and not just one entity, which
Mm-hmm.
is cool. Um, but there's nothing more humbling uh, for me than having somebody say, "Look, we're going to have this event, even if they're not creating it for me." So let's say you've got a festive board or whatever that you're wanting to do, and you say, I want you to be my speaker. I want you to be my speaker for this event." Man, there is nothing more humbling than that right there. And when you do that, then you're telling me that you're putting education first. You're not putting me first. You're putting education first in your Freemasonry, and your guys, your brothers around you support that. And they're supporting this new culture and movement that we're moving into. And really, it's not a new culture, it's an old culture revived, right? That's what we're doing here. We're not creating a new wheel. We're just dusting it off and pushing it down the road, right? That's all we're doing. So um that's just something else I wanted to state, because it's very special to see these lodges that have been doing these education points, and they've been building up to this, and now they're growing to where they're doing these events. San Antonio's got another event coming up. It's a second annual event, um, like a Masonicon, and I feel so bad for not knowing the name of it. But of course, I'm not a speaker for that. I'm just the guy that's coming in with the video equipment to do a a presentation for Masonic improvement,
You
or to
scared me for a
throw
second.
them
I was
on
like, wait a second, don't tell me you're
some
not going to be there.
Masonic improvement. Yeah, I'm gonna go.
Okay,
I'm
good.
gonna go. But there's another event that's being done in San Antonio that's really cool, and it's being hosted by Triune Masonic Lodge, and it's a symposium, and there's going to be speakers from all around um, the state, and some. I think there's a couple of guys outside of the country or outside of the state, but there's brothers from all around that are coming in to speak. And so this has been building up from this lodge. They have a speakers at every meeting. I've spoke at a few of them already. And then now they're going to have the symposium, which is the next level. So they're growing and building for their area. So it's very encouraging to see this kind of thing happen. So I don't want anyone to dampen their spirits based off of us saying, slow down on the minutes. Let's, put more focus on the education, because it's not that education is everything,
Mm-hmm.
but it is becoming such a key factor in our new culture. Our new culture. It's not a new culture, but our new culture, because it hasn't been in our Masonic experience, right? So in our new culture of um, this time of enlightenment for our fraternity, this is really cool.
Yep.
This is really cool. So don't go too far down that road of dampening the spirit of anybody, but at the same time, there's balance in everything,
Yeah.
and we just got to find it. That's what we need.
And I don't necessarily feel like it's dampening anyone's spirit, because I think we said this before, every lodge is different, right? So what works for one lodge might not necessarily work for another lodge. Um, to your point, and I was thinking this actually as I said it, because we were talking about, I mentioned doing a called meeting or something like that. Yeah, you do get better attendance if you do it for a stated meeting, unless you go about it the right way. And by that, I mean you have to advertise it. You have to make it known to people that you're going to have this, and it applies to your stated meeting too. Like if you're hoping to have like a highly respected and world renowned speaker like Dennis come to your lodge, but you don't tell anybody, no one extra is going to show up except Dennis, right? So you need to make
If
it
you tell
known.
somebody,
You
nobody
have to
may
tell.
show up.
No, I'm saying you need to tell people. You need to make people aware of it. You need to post on
Right.
Facebook. You need to hype it up. But if you do decide you want to do it as like, you don't have to do a called meeting, because you hit on it. I was thinking it as you were talking about it. If you want to have education and you want to do it outside your lodge, outside your stated meeting, and you want to have good attendance and get people excited about it, have more than one speaker. Make a big deal about it. Make an event out of it. Have a meal.
Yeah, do it at a restaurant.
Do it at a restaurant.
Yeah, do it. Yeah, do it at a nice restaurant in a closed room.
Yeah. Build your way up to your own symposium or something in your own region. Don't wait on someone else to do it for you. Don't wait on that. Like my friends in South Texas, like I've talked to some of them and they feel like they're just deprived of any kind of Masonic education out there. Make it, man. Make it happen. Granted, it might be hard to get speakers from like North Central Texas or something like that, but I'm sure you have people in your area. And I'm sure you can get like one big speaker from somewhere far away and several local guys to come talk. Or become that person. Become the speaker. Educate yourself.
Well, and if you're wanting to have a nice event, pay the guy to come down.
Mm-hmm.
Pay his gas and his hotel. I mean, really, if you're talking about an event that's like a quarterly event and you have to spend a couple $100 for this person to come in and speak, mm-hmm. That's not a big expense when you think of the big picture. I mean, if you sell tickets for the dinner, let's say,
yep.
Most of our dinners at the Scottish Rite cost us $45, and that's a nice catered dinner. An extra $10 is not going to break me. In fact, if I was going to a restaurant, I'd probably spend more than that anyways.
Yep.
But that extra $10 from each person, let's say there's 40 people at the event, that's $400 for the speaker, right? Mm-hmm. So just build that into the price of what you're doing and make a go of it. And don't outprice yourself for your area either. I mean, it's unnecessary. That's you can have a nice event for $50 and have a decent dinner and a good atmosphere and a good speaker, and man, that's I will do that all day long. Absolutely. I'll do that every week because most people, if you think about it, all the people in our rich little suburban towns, and then of course our poor little country towns that still go and spend $50 on a steak because we know what steak is. Mm-hmm. We right?
Yeah.
Our ego gets the best of it. So we spend the money anyways. We're going to spend that money on dinner anyways. Why not have one with the lodge and have a nice event, have a good speaker? It's not impossible. For some reason, people just have this stigmatism that Freemasonry is free Masonry, right? So you can't have something decent and be a respectable man that thinks about the internal and not the external, right?
Yeah, we had a comment. But really, on one of the videos, they were complaining that we charge for degrees. It's like,
oh my goodness,
what are you supposed to do? Like, for free? Like, how you can't operate in a vacuum?
Yeah, you need to just go join the
join the Lions. There's no degrees there.
Go to church, buddy. Go to church. You don't have to pay a thing. They ask you for 10% of your annual earnings, but you don't have to pay a thing. So, and that's interesting. They ask you for 10%. 10% is, and I'm not going to go too far down that because, I'm a believer in supporting what you do and what you believe in.
Absolutely.
But 10% versus, $100 or $200 for a degree. I mean, really? Come on. For something as invaluable as Freemasonry? Oh my God.
I would say this in regards to the whole tickets and everything. Most lodges wouldn't bat an eye at doing a fish fry. Nobody joins to do fish fries. We sell people on taking good men and make them better. If you want a great way, if you want a good fundraiser for your lodge and a spur activity in your lodge, host an event with actual guest speakers. That way the brothers are actually coming for what they signed up for, to improve themselves and become better men. No one joins to fry fish. If you got to do it, if you got to do a fundraiser, at least do something that's going to improve yourself as a person.
Right. Well, and it can be, both can be incorporated. Don't do fish because that's like the pancakes of breakfast.
Yeah.
It's cheap and easy and, makes you smell. But do steaks.
Yeah.
Every year we have a steak dinner for Valentine's at one of my lodges, and that's one of the big fundraisers. It's a Valentine's dinner for the family, and it's $25 a head and per steak, basically. And the lodge makes 3 grand every year on a steak, and we're having steak.
Nice.
So to spend an extra $200 for a guest speaker, we make 2,800 instead of 3 grand. That's a fundraiser, in my opinion. Then you're actually supporting your own fraternity.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting value out of it. You're enjoying yourself. You're enjoying your brothers. That's an excellent way to promote Freemasonry, as well as your philanthropy. That's the medication.
Yeah,
I'll just leave that alone.
Brad Hoff says Right Worshipful Rumsey spoke at their last meeting on Masonic etiquette and protocol. He is incredibly intelligent and has great charisma. I would tell anyone, if you can get Right Worshipful Rumsey to come talk at your lodge, do it. He can talk about anything.
Yes, and he can speak on anything and very knowledgeable in anything. Yes.
Even if he doesn't know what he's going to talk about 5 minutes before he gets there, he can talk. Yeah. And he'll be good.
He's one of my favorite humans. In fact, he's one of those guys, he won't write something. Mm-hmm. Don't ask him to tell you what you're, just in spite, he's going to tell you, oh, I don't know. He'll know, but he'll tell you, I don't know.
Well, he might know, but that might change 3 or 4 times too.
Yeah.
Just trust in his process. Yeah. Just trust his process.
I love Right Worshipful Jim. He is one of my favorite humans, and I love hearing him talk. Same way with Right Worshipful Duty. He's the same way.
Yeah.
He can just pull it out at any time. He's just ready.
Okay.
The guy's just on it.
I've never had a conversation or heard either one of them talk and been disappointed from what I heard.
Right.
Not once.
I've never walked away feeling dumber than when I got there. Never.
Yeah.
I've always felt smarter when I walked away from those two brothers. They're probably why they're two of my favorite brothers in part of my mentorship circle.
I remember I went to Masonicon one year and Right Worshipful Rumsey was there, and he was like breaking down Grand Lodge proceedings, chronological order.
Oh my gosh! I could have never
with no notes or anything.
No prompting, no notes, no nothing. And
he was throwing down names and dates and why they did it.
1845. It's like, oh my gosh, dude. You just make us all look bad. Go home.
Yes.
You served your purpose. I feel like an idiot. Go away.
Bob Naylor says fundraisers are the most Masonic things some lodges do. I wouldn't even say they're Masonic things, but yes, they do them. The only focus is on doing stuff in and for the community. Nothing gets done to engage the members or to make good men better. The reason, and we've hit on this, the reason lodges, let's just cut through all the bull. The reason lodges want to do these fundraisers and things in the community is so that they can be seen and hopefully get more members. That's the reason. That's it. That's why. Same reason we do scholarships.
It's passive marketing.
It's passive marketing, and it's bad marketing. And in case of scholarships, it's very expensive bad marketing.
Yeah.
There's lots of things you could do as a lodge. We talked about this recently as far as like websites and actual things like that where people are actually looking. If you want to be in front of the community, get online, get on Facebook, get a website, and start promoting yourself that way. Take pictures of your events, promote your events. I mean, make like posts for your events that are coming up. Get people excited that way, because that's where this is where people are looking now. They're not looking at the newspaper, or if your town even has a newspaper anymore. They're not looking at that.
It's all about return on investment. That's what it boils down to.
Yeah. The focus becomes members and not making Masons. I agree. So
you're right.
Do actual Masonic things and promote that. And
then you're going to attract the members and not the members, the Masons. And the reason why is because your members are going to get excited.
Yeah.
And we all have our circles of friends who believe in the same things we do. And we're going to tell those friends. When I joined Masonry, I told all the people I knew would be excited for me that I joined Masonry. So tell me that wasn't the best advertising for that lodge, was me becoming a Mason, because then my friends that I knew would want to be Masons learned about it. So have events that get your membership talking,
Mhm.
and then the people that they know that feel the same way as what you're doing will be more enticed to come in.
If
That's
your
the best market.
if your lodge has a fish fry mentality, before you complain about that, think about what your lodge is doing to try and attract people. Because if you're doing fish
Right.
fries to try and attract people, who are you going to attract? Fish fry
Yeah.
masons, right?
Yeah.
Members. But if you want to attract actual like masons that want to improve themselves, host events that will challenge people to improve themselves and will they'll learn, and promote that and make posts about it, and people will be like, "Hey, I want to be a part of that. That's intellectual. Those people are growing."
Right. Now here's something also before we get too far down this rabbit hole of you know damnation.
Yeah,
Um,
I got a
I'd
comment
like
for
to
you after you
also,
finish.
speaking of damnation,
No.
I'd also like to say that we have to remember that a lot of these lodges, they're robot lodges at this point. They're just going through the motions. They don't know what to do anymore.
Yep.
They're just trying to do what they can to survive in hopes that somebody's going to walk through the door with the next big idea,
Mm-hmm.
because they don't know if what we're doing is working for themselves. They don't trust that it is, because they trusted somebody else and it didn't work and it blew up in their face. So now they're just going to stick with the mediocrity and keep floating along until hopefully somebody comes and proves them wrong within their own lodge.
They're trying to
That's
keep their
that's the
charter.
reality.
They're trying to keep their charter long enough
Yeah.
for a Masonic Messiah to walk through the door and save
Right.
everything, and that's not going to
Right.
happen.
Right.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah. I can't be everywhere.
Brad Hoff says we plan to have
I
Dennis.
just had to say that.
We plan to have Brother Yates come to my lodge for a special education night. It's in the works, so it sounds like Brother Yates wants steaks.
Ah! I want whatever you.
He's actually a surf and
I
turf
am
guy.
so. I do love surf and turf. I do. But whatever you want, I'm honored and so happy to be coming up. Royce City Lodge. I gotta tell you, brothers, I have never been in this. I am dead serious. I have never been more humbled than looking at the Royce City Lodge website. It's I'm just gonna tell you to go to the website, go to the Royce City Lodge website.
Nice.
But I just I think that it's magnificent that brothers are reaching out to speakers from all over. I think it tells a lot about the character of the lodge and the value that they put on their own personal journeys, versus what we may find in other lodges. So it's not about what I'm doing, it's what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I just get to show up and talk a little bit about some cool stuff that I love talking about. But these guys are actually putting this stuff into practice. They're actually listening to some of the bull crap that I put out, and they're putting it to practice, and it's working. I mean, these guys are making it happen day in and day out. And there's nothing more humbling than seeing our brothers go in and listen a little bit, not do everything word for word, but they take in just a little bit of what we're saying, apply it to they take it in, internalize it, apply it to their own situation, and just make it freaking grow. I mean, that's what Brother Hoff is doing, and that's what Royce City Lodge is doing. And I got to tell you, he's got all the brothers on board over there, too. He's got all his past masters on board. He's got the officers on board. They're all in it to win it.
I love it.
Royce City Lodge is going to be, if they're not already, they are going to be one of the premier lodges of North Texas, mark my words, because they are really taking all this stuff to heart, not just what I say. He just returned from officer leadership training. They're taking it all to heart. They're doing what they got to do to make sure that their lodge is relevant for the young guy that comes in for that Masonic experience. And man, my hat's off to you. I love you, and I love what you're doing. I truly do.
I love that.
Can't say enough good about it.
It's good to promote lodges that are doing things right.
Absolutely.
It's good to
In
have
fact, I
lodges
think
that you can promote.
we ought to do that once a month and just invite different lodges. Tell us what you're doing, and let's pick a few of the lodges and say,
Hmm.
okay, we're going to have all you on the live, and let's talk about your lodge. Let's show off your lodge
I like
because
that
we need
idea.
other brothers to see what's going on out there in masonry. Brother Hoff, Royce City Lodge is going to be the first one on that show.
I like that. It's a little shout out session.
Yes,
Well, what better
yes,
way? I mean, if it's just you and I, it's an echo chamber, right? But if we can get other lodges
yes,
that are doing things with fidelity and success, let them come on and share
yes.
it. I like that.
Freedom, fervency, and zeal, man. We have the freedom to do what we want to do. We have the fervency to keep it going, and we have the zeal to excite the masses. So
What?
I say, let's do it.
Where, Brother Huff? Where is his lodge at? Where are we looking at here? He said North Texas,
Royce City.
Royce City. I'm not familiar with that. He says they're going to get the Vanguard with your help, though. So that's pretty cool. City take. I'm just looking up where it's at.
Well, it's all their work. It's all their work. They're putting it in. They're putting in the work.
Wow,
I am so proud of them.
that's kind
So proud.
of near Mount Pleasant and all that, isn't it? Tyler, kind of in that
Right.
ballpark. Okay. Well, that's cool, man. I'm proud of you guys. That's really good to see that happening. This is how Texas Freemasonry is going to improve. It's one lodge at a time, right?
Yes.
Well, it starts with one individual at a time, one lodge at a time, and hopefully one district at a time after that. But you got to start with yourself and work your way up. East of Dallas. Okay. All right. So I'm proud of you
Did
guys.
is Josh on tonight? Is Josh Kovar watching tonight?
I haven't seen him make a comment. I don't know if he's here or not. Josh, if you're
Okay.
here, give
Well,
us a
that
shout out in chat, please.
he's another one now. He's the the senior warden of my lodge in Goliad, and they're doing the same thing. I mean, they are really taking it to heart, and they're taking it to the brothers. And my goodness, another country lodge that decided I'm not gonna live like a country lodge. I'm not gonna let anybody tell me this is what a country lodge does,
Hmm.
because this country lodge does masonry, and they're doing it more intelligent than 70% of our lodges out there, I assure you.
The thing about Texas is you could be a country lodge and still be wildly successful. I
Absolutely.
was watching a it was a video about some dude in the UK and like he hadn't seen his dad in like 2 years because he lives an hour away. Dude, like in Texas, an hour away is not an
Oh
unreasonable
my
commute, right?
gosh.
So you could be a country lodge, be an hour away from the city, and you can still be wildly successful and attract people to your lodge. People will still
Yes.
come if you're doing good things. That's not a big deal here in Texas. Like we don't mind driving distances.
Well, our state is bigger than most countries in the world, right? There's only like 5 or 6 countries that are bigger than our state.
Yeah, yeah. So don't let the thought
Just
that you're out in
saying.
the middle of nowhere, or you feel like you're out in the
Right.
middle of nowhere, lead you to think you can't be successful. Look at like Chalk Mountain. Have you been to Chalk Mountain before?
Oh yeah. Well, I haven't been there, but it's an awesome little lodge,
Yeah.
and that is very cool. It is a place to go.
I mean, it is in the boondocks, but people travel a
Yes.
long way because it has a strong enough lodge culture and it's unique enough in what they do that people at least once in their Masonic career want to come see it. Like I've been there once, and I know brothers in this district. They'll drive like an hour and a half. I think it's like an hour and a half every month to go there, and they're
Right.
members there.
Well, I drive. You know, people talk about time. I drive to San Antonio several times a month, and that's an hour and 45 minutes each way. Each way.
Hmm.
I was able to go over to Houston for the Grandmaster's official visit. And granted, for most people, you'd have to take off early from work because I left at 3:30. I did pick up a couple of people on the way, but we got there at 6. We did the entire ceremony, and then we left, and I got home before midnight. That's not a difficult night. It really isn't.
Hmm.
It's not unfathomable. And no, you don't have to do it 2 or 3 times a week like I do. You don't have to. I do that because I don't want anybody defining my Freemasonry. And so I'm going to get it everywhere I can. That's why I do that. So I go to Corpus, San Antonio, Houston, wherever I want to go, I'm going to go for my Mason. And Austin is even an easy drive for me.
Mm.
So don't let an hour stop you from visiting one of the premier lodges in your area, especially if it's outside of the district, because districts tend to emulate each other, right?
It's
You have the
true.
same people churning each other in all the chairs of all the lodges, and then you end up having one big lodge of the district, right? Well, if you go outside the district, you have new experiences that you can take and bring to your district.
Hmm.
And then you start breaking up that monotony, and it makes your experience in your district more enjoyable. So
I,
travel, guys, travel.
I think when we start spotlighting those lodges, because I think that's a great idea, that will give people ideas of where they need to visit.
Oh yeah.
If you want to
Oh
find,
yeah,
if you
for
want to,
sure.
because the best way to learn how to do things differently is to visit lodges that are doing things dramatically differently within
Oh
the
yeah.
parameters of the Grand Lodge law, of course. And then you can,
Oh yeah.
then that's when you start thinking outside the box of your district, because you're absolutely right. Um, they do emulate each other. You can't. That's why I left the first time. Well, back when I left Freemasonry, because I visited other lodges in the district, but they're all doing the same thing, and none of them were
Right.
offering Freemasonry. Or
And then you
nothing.
have those 2 or 3 guys that seem like the grand masters of the district, right?
Yeah,
Because they're telling everybody how to do things and what's Masonic and what's not, and that just drives down
yeah. I know a
your
district for one of
experience
those
right
guys.
there.
Brian Weber says, speaking of Goliad, what is the plan for a Masonic observance for the Goliad massacre this year?
uh, there is always a Fannin Memorial in Goliad. This year, it will be on the same day as the observance with La Bahia. So it is on. Let me see. Let me pull it up here. I won't be there because I will be out of town, and I apologize, brothers, but I'll be out of state actually, not just out of town. It is on. Oh no, I won't be out of state. I'll be in San Antonio for the symposium because I'll be speaking at the symposium. But it should be on the weekend of the 23rd, that Saturday. And what happens is Grand Lodge will come in and they will open up a representation of the Grand Lodge of Texas at our lodge in Goliad, and then everyone will go over to the Presidio and uh, actually to the memorial site behind the Presidio, and they go there and we lay a wreath and the the Grand Order normally gives a talk about the about what happened during that time to educate everybody, and we do some the mayor of the city always presents a key to the city for the Grand Master. Um, our folks here, they love our Masons, and so it's always a real nice event. And then we go back and have lunch at our lodge, and we usually have enchiladas, and everybody loves it. There's usually around anywhere from, on a normal visit, which this one will be very normal, if not better than normal. There will be anywhere from 70 to 100 people at the event, and we have the tables and the facilities set up for everybody to eat and enjoy themselves. There's a bar next door, so we can go have drinks next door if we want to afterwards. And that's also during the reenactment for the Presidio. And so after we do our thing, uh, you can actually dress down a little bit if you want to, and then run back up there and see all the reenactments that are going on and go through the Presidio and take the tour and get a real, just engrossed uh, experience. It really is something everyone should do at least once or twice in their life. And I truly I truly love the experience. But our Grand Master is coming to Goliad on the correct weekend, and it's going to be an excellent time. So
That's good. Brad Hoff says,
Grandmaster Chapman is on it, buddy. He is on it, and so is his team.
yes, he is. Brad Hoff says he's traveling to as many lodges as he can around him to meet all the brothers. It's a big part of his masonry. That's how he met most of the speakers that have come to help and are going to visit this year. Yeah. And I always say also,
That's exactly how you do it.
like, if your lodge is having a hard time getting people to visit their lodge, it's probably because you're not visiting their lodges.
Right.
I know of one lodge, like you go and it's just people from that lodge. Every once in a while there might be one visitor, but if you go to any other lodge in that district, you'll never see another person from that lodge. But the other
Right.
members all intervisit with each other. They all go to each other's lodges, and so if you can't be an island in Freemasonry, right? Freemasonry does not like islands, and people don't like islands in Freemasonry. If you feel like you're on an island, you get discouraged. You have to go out and visit. You have to, especially if you're the worship master. If you're the worship master and you're like, no one ever comes to my lodge, how many lodges are you going to?
Yeah. That was one of the things I strongly believed even before I became master of my lodge. As an officer of the lodge, it was my duty to represent my lodge and go visit other lodges. And especially as a master, that's your job. You're the goodwill of the lodge, right? So you're going out to spread goodwill, and you're the ambassador of your lodge. That's what a master of a lodge is. And so if you're not doing that, you're doing a great disservice to your lodge, because that attracts other people to your lodge is when you go out and visit.
If you're in the district and you never see anybody from that lodge, you're going to assume that lodge is deceased, right? It's a zombie lodge. If you know they haven't turned their charter and they're still there, but you never see anybody, why would I go? It sounds like just the deceased lodge. There's no activity because I don't see anything going on.
Right.
You got to be out there. You got to let people know your lodge is alive and well, and it's doing things. This goes back to promoting yourself. If you're not promoting it, just as in life, like I was raised to be very humble, right? Like you don't brag about yourself. You have to, because no one's going to do it for you. No one's going to say, oh, the such and such lodge is doing all these things. You can go there and visit them. No, you have to promote yourself. You as a person and as a lodge, you have to promote your lodge.
Well, and there's a way to go about it also. I had a brother ask me, in fact, this past weekend, he's frustrated over some things that's going on and saying, well, how should I approach this? I'm in this position of some kind of an authority, right? And how should I approach this? And I said, well, you approach it from a place of help. You're just helpful. You don't go in and promote yourself as the answer to all problems and this and that. Go in willing to help. You go in willing to roll your sleeves up and offer guidance when people ask.
Mm-hmm.
When people ask, give it. Don't shy away from it. They're interested in what you have to say. Give your guidance, and then if it works out, then they're going to ask some more, and then you have to be ready to give some more.
And I would even say
promoting yourself in a humble way is just being a servant leader.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is.
Yeah, and you don't have to come across as like a know-it-all, but you can pull a brother aside and say, hey, we dealt with such and such problem at such and such organization, which is like what you're dealing with, and this is how we dealt with it. If you want more information, just let me know, and I can show you how we did it. If not, that's fine. Sometimes some people and some lodges are happy with their problems because it gives them something to complain about, right? Some people don't want to fix their problems. Some lodges don't want to fix their problems, and that's fine. But you can still
they just want you to hear about it.
They just want you to hear about it. Yeah. Some people are perfectly happy being unhappy, and there's nothing you do about that. But Yeah, from like a servant leader mentality, you can say, look, I've experienced this. If you want to know how we did it, it might not work 100% the same way for you, but this is how we did it if you want like another perspective. And just leave it at that. And if they want to know more, they'll ask you. And if they don't, well, okay.
Right. Yeah, that's one thing that I definitely never do is keep my mouth shut. And some people give me a hard time about it, and that's okay. I'm okay with that because ultimately I'm able to help more people than I hurt.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not doing things to promote myself as an individual. I do things to promote the craft, and it's very apparent in what I do.
Yeah.
And so it's okay to do that. It's perfectly okay to be that person in Freemasonry because we need you in Freemasonry just like that. Because there's not enough people doing it. If we had a lot of people doing it, then sure, it might be a bit much for everybody to be doing that. But we don't. We need more people to just be willing to step up and say, here I am. If you need my resources, I've got them. And I'm happy to share them.
Well, usually the people that are the most outspoken are the ones that need to say the least, right? And the people that are most knowledgeable are usually the ones that don't say anything. It needs a flip.
Oh, come on.
It needs a flip. You're one of the ones that are knowledgeable that say things, but most of the time, knowledgeable people.
I was going to say that's the old way of thinking.
It is.
You think the smartest guy in the room is the guy that's quiet. That's not true.
Yeah,
that's not true.
Yeah, we got
not in today's age.
We got to flip that around.
Yeah.
What's the saying? I don't remember what the saying is, but you. It is actually relevant. Was it evil is successful because good stands by and does nothing kind of thing?
Right.
I mean, we're talking absolutes, but so what? I mean, if your lodge has been on a steady decline, look who's been making all the decisions, right? And usually, what will happen is the knowledgeable people will just step aside quietly because they don't want to engage in all the drama. It's not going to turn around unless we start saying things and we start being vocal and saying, that's actually not the best way to do it. Why are we doing this? Question things that you do every year with no results, right?
Yeah.
And look at what
we don't change things just for change sake, but when it needs it, then we offer up change.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Cool. What else you got?
Balance. That's been heavy on my mind all weekend is balance. Because I think that we tend to look at the checker pavement and we think, oh my goodness, I just had a brain fart. Bear with me. We look at the checker pavement and we consider, and the first thing we think about is duality because that's the most apparent thing that stands out when we look at that. But the lessons to be learned are so much deeper, and it all pertains to balance in our lives. And the reality is that the realization that I've come to this weekend, and it's been floating around in my head for a while, but our chaos is perfect in God's plan. So the grand architect actually puts chaos into the world as balance to his perfect uniformity. His perfect uniformity of all things, right? And I say his, but it's actually it because, God is speaking of duality. So the perfect world in all its niceties are made perfect through the chaos that we see. Our microcosm of chaos is imperfection of his macrocosm, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Did you say nicety?
I probably did.
I was just thinking as you're saying that, I don't think anyone that is not a Freemasonry has ever heard or used that word. but I see where I agree with where you're going with that. Yeah.
It's hard for me to explain it right now because it came off the cuff. but it's something that I've been thinking pretty heavily about today. It's almost like, um, do any of y'all remember back in the late 80s, early 90s, they had all those pictures that were black and white pictures, and they had zigzag lines and stuff. And if you look at them and just kind of focus
I
out,
could never get them to work, but I know
all
what you're talking about.
all of a sudden a picture will appear.
Supposedly.
But what, yeah, well, what I always noticed when I did that is the picture would appear with this like so in the black and white, in the absolute black and white, when you stop focusing on the black and white, all of a sudden you see the color in God's plan revealed. And that it was just something that really has really been heavy on my heart today. As a matter of fact, I've been thinking about that a lot today. That the beauty of the grand architect is found in the black and white opposites that that we need, that are required.
Well, it's like that saying, more or less, God never puts anything in your life that you can't handle, right? Um, it comes down to balance. Nothing, there's nothing that gets put in your life that you are not equipped. Now, does everybody handle it? No, unfortunately. But there's nothing that is put in your life that you have not been already predisposed to
Right.
grow from and learn from.
Well, and I think we've talked about it recently because it's actually part of this topic in one that I'm writing on right now. And but the value of the of one side of, let's say, the good is equally and directly in relation to the value of the bad that you've experienced in your life. So you can only feel as much good on a thing as you have been able to experience the bad, and vice versa. So if, let's say, a woman breaks your heart, you're only going to fall into a hole as deep as your heart lets you fall into love, basically. So if you fell into, the deeper in love you felt for that person, the deeper in the bliss that you're going to fall into in despair over losing that person. The balance in those opposites, and those are all in different degrees in our life on different things, depending on what it is that we're dealing with, or whatever it is that we're looking at or contemplating. We have to realize what degree is this in my life, and what do I need to do to correct it on the other side. If there's a imposition in your life, the best thing to do is to acknowledge it, and then look to the direct opposite of that degree of change. And then once you find that, then it will create the balance and bring you back to zero, and then you'll find peace in your life.
You talking about all this? I mean, it sounds pretty hermetic, right? What you're talking about, this above and below. It. I
didn't say above and below.
I know you didn't, but
I said degrees.
Okay. Well, it made me think of it.
I know, and I think the same thing when I think internal, external.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's all about. It has nothing to do with. Go ahead.
I was watching a video with a lady. I didn't really agree with a lot of things she said, but it made me think, because she was. I mean, first of all, she introduced herself as a witch, and sometimes she turns into a cat, kind of thing. It's like, oh,
awesome.
Okay, yeah, okay.
I want to see that.
Yeah, I would like to see that too. But she was talking about how the Emerald Tablets were mistranslated by Isaac Newton, and the authors of, in her words, the authors of Kabbalion and all their white friends. So you kind of know where this is going, right? Just from that But anyway,
Right.
supposedly the original translation of the Emerald Tablets was Syrian, no, or Arabic,
That
and it got mistranslated by Isaac Newton. It's like, I don't know about that, but
I
I
think it's Syrian.
Syrian. Okay, maybe I
Yeah.
was thinking one of the two, but
Yeah.
it was meant to be like as above as above is below, as below is above. Kind of less of a duality and more of a um, synchronicity, I guess. It's like
Right.
I don't know. I would be interested in actually looking at a new translation of that and see if it's like turns up different, kind of like the Bible. Like I like to look at different translations of the Bible and see what comes up. But if you introduce yourself as someone that turns into a cat, I'm not really going to take everything else you take very seriously. Just saying.
Well, the well, I'll listen to anybody, and that's probably to my fault, and that's probably why I'm open to believe so many crazy things. But um, and the reason I am willing to listen to anybody is because of translation.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, and that's something that we had talked about this past weekend. Speaking of the word, the in the beginning was the word, and the word was God. Blah blah blah.
Yep.
So, the word was probably not a word at all, and it was more of a frequency. Um, it has to be more of an utterance of frequency. Um, that started creation, right? And we put the vowels in and we put the consonants in so that our finite mind can wrap our head around the idea of a word, even though that the word came from the vibration of the vocal cords. We had to put something around it so that we could understand the concept because of our finite minds. And I think that in any translation, you're dealing with that, first of all, from language to language, and there's not always a word to match the intent or utterance of another um, another word, I guess, is the only thing I can say. But sometimes there's not a match for words, and so they look for the closest thing or group of words to symbolize that utterance, because ultimately words and language and communication, it's just symbols. Ultimately just symbols. It's symbolizing something. So if it is something that has to be interpreted like the Emerald Tablets and the Philosopher's Stone and stuff like that, I mean, that's just, I can't rely on just one person's interpretation on what that means for me to accept it as truth
Mm-hmm.
or fact. The author may have meant something specific by what he did, even if he's the Messiah that creates this philosophy or spiritual renaissance, right? He's the guy that creates all this. I still can't go just off of what he says to what it means. I have to rely on other sources to wrap my head around it, because I'm not always going to understand one person where I might understand another person. We were talking about that in multi-sensory learning
Mm-hmm.
and multi-conceptual learning.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I require.
I'm also willing to
So I listen to everybody.
I'm also willing to believe in some pretty far out things. Let's be obvious. I mean, I've talked about some pretty far out stuff on here.
Yeah.
But it's yeah. But and I listened to the whole video. So I mean, I'll listen.
I was
to you.
looking for a cat woman when I got married. Man. I was.
Wait, I'll listen to what you have to say, but I'm just saying, like I how do I want to put this? I believe that there are probably like things, entities out there that can change shape, right? Possibly, why not? Sure,
Right.
sure. But they probably don't
If
go
you
around.
believe in Hermetic principle, you have to believe.
But they probably
You
don't go
have to
around
believe it's
advertising
possible.
that,
Right.
right? Like the Navajo, like with the Skinwalker, uh,
Shapeshifter, yeah.
shape shifting. Like
Skinwalkers, yeah.
those people probably don't go around saying that they could do that if they could do that. So if you say
Right.
I'm a witch, I can turn into a cat. Okay, I mean let's hear what you have to say, but okay. I mean maybe you
And
identify as a
ultimately,
cat
we have to
sometimes.
believe that it's possible, but I haven't met anyone who's firm enough in their understanding of any of this to be able to actually do it.
Hmm. Yeah.
So you're probably right.
Yeah.
That's funny. It's just like a lot of times I'll tell people, it freaks people out too, that I tell people, look, man, I think Jesus was doing the things he was doing, saying the things he was saying, because he truly understood Kabbalah and Hermetic principle. And all of that was before Christianity and all that kind of stuff. So those that culture of Hermetic teachings and things like that, that was all available to Jesus when he's formulating his thoughts on God and in his feelings towards God and the Father. And so I truly believe that he could have implemented, he could have been so spiritually connected to the Father to be able to implement those practices to do a lot of the miracles that were exemplified in the Bible.
Hmm.
But I also think that those references in the Bible could also be just completely um, allegorical and never happened physically.
When a lot of
It
the
could go either way because you have somebody else interpreting something somebody else wrote in in another language, and so there's so many different interpretations. It could be different. We can't just say that that's the only possibility.
well, when you could look at older texts and they have very similar stories, right, with very similar themes. And I mean, really, the only thing that changes the character names in the locations. Either there's two things that are either happening. Well, I guess three things. Everything's cyclical, right, which is possible. It was taken from an older story and adapted to the region, which happens. Or
It really happened back then because that was uh, before writing was every day,
mhm,
and so stories were passed down from generation to generation, mouth to ear.
yeah, and yeah, absolutely. And if you're doing stories with this oral tradition, and you travel, and suddenly I'm 1,000 miles from where. Not that it happened often, but people did migrate. I'm 1,000 miles away from where my great grandparents lived. Am I going to tell the same story about to my children about some town in some area they've never heard of, or am I going to adapt that to things that they hear
Right,
now? I mean, we do that today. Like
right.
if I'm telling my kids stories, I'm going to adapt it and make it more modern so that they understand what I'm
It's
talking
the
about.
lesson, not the
It's the
yeah.
lesson, not the location, not the people, and so and there's it happened. This isn't really. I mean, look up Horus in the Egyptian pantheon. Look up the flood myth. Look up Epic of Gilgamesh. Granted, there's flood myths from all over the world, so something almost certainly happened. But I'm just saying,
Right. Well, and Jesus did walk the earth, and Jesus was preaching, and Jesus was doing all the things that they said he did. Don't get me wrong;
mm-hmm,
it's proven in other history books. Don't get me wrong. I'm
mm-hmm,
not saying that there's no such thing as Jesus or whatever, and that he was a fraud or anything like that. I do not believe that. I am a Christian. I believe differently than a lot of Christians out there, but I am a Christian, and I know that he walked the earth. I just don't know that everything was exactly how the preachers tell me it is,
yeah, yeah.
because
I
they're not the ones who determine my faith and my relationship with
yeah.
God.
I also have no doubt there was a Jesus, and with the Christ conscience, and he did miracles and things like this. I have no doubt of that.
Right.
But people also like to, I don't know. There's no doubt something divine about what he did in himself.
Yeah.
But people are also people, and I feel like, I mean, it'll just be, I'll be a little heretical. As soon as he was gone, and people found a way to capitalize on his miracles and who he was, they created their own religion and used it to control people for thousands of years. So, I mean, and they decided what he said and what really happened and what ended up in the Bible and what didn't. So,
right.
I mean, the Ethiopian Holy Bible
History
has
goes
way
to
more
the
books than the European Holy Bible. So, who's right, who's wrong?
Right. And that's the reality. You know, I'm a believer. I'm just not going to let any one person tell me what I should. Yeah. And I don't think anyone should, because God did give us the intellect to be able to discern. And if that wasn't such a powerful gift given to us by the Creator, then I may not take it so seriously. But man, there is nothing more powerful than the human mind, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Nothing. And I truly believe that we are of God, in God, and God is completely in us, and that is what creates the spark of life within our brain and our intellect and our conscience and our spirit. I truly believe that. I truly do.
I was thinking about that.
But with that, there's a responsibility to us to use that.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking about what you're saying. I think it was today. Really, we are nothing more than a bunch of elements combined together in certain patterns. There's nothing innate. I mean, rocks aren't sentient, as far as we know. The air is not sentient. It's all made up of the same elements that we are. At what point do you combine elements and they begin to move? Right? But then take it one step further. At what point do you take elements and combine them together and they move and they're self-aware?
Right.
And they learn and they grow and they build things. There's something different about that. And yeah, it has to be something in the spirit. It has to be something spiritual. There's something in there that isn't necessarily in the rocks or in the rabbits that makes us unique in that way. And I'm not suggesting that we're the only animals. I mean, they've demonstrated like squids are absurdly, not squids, octopus are absurdly intelligent. Dolphins communicate, things like that. But they're also not building and doing stuff like we are. But I'm not. There may be life outside Earth. I'm not saying we're the only ones unique in that way, but we are unique from other animals that we know of on Earth. Because as smart as some animals may be, they're not taking hammers and building houses and things like that. What is it that's different? It's not. This is all just elements. These are all just atoms. There has to be something that we cannot directly observe. There has to be something in us somewhere. I don't know where you'd find it, but it makes us different from everything else. So absolutely, there's some kind of spiritual aspect to us.
Right. Yeah, that's I think we like to, and just like with the entire world has always controlled others based on their ignorance, that when you keep people ignorant, then you have more control over them. Mm-hmm. You know, the easiest way to keep a political party doing anything and everything that you want is to, you know, make sure they remain stupid, or at least make sure they want to remain stupid. You know, some people just remain stupid because they choose it. I don't know why they do it. But if you want to control them, keep them stupid. And that's where we are now. We would rather, put our focus onto Facebook and everything else in the world instead of, what's happening in our government and so forth. And we choose to stay stupid. We choose to be ignorant and look at the mess that we're in and say that, oh, it's because of this president or the other. No, the congressmen have been there for years and years. They're the ones that control everything. We actually have let them take control of our society.
Mm-hmm.
And it's our own ignorant bliss that has caused it. And it's the same control that every other entity has always had over throughout time, whether it was the church, whether we let, and even personally, on a personal level, we'll let our family keep us ignorant and keep control over us through ignorance. Well, it's not just the church and the government. We let all kinds of things control us through ignorance, and we choose not to expand because we don't want to lose that safety net of connection or belonging that we feel.
But just like we learned earlier this year, you have to show up and demand the change. It's not going to take care of itself. The government issue isn't gonna fix itself. None of the issues talk about. You have to be
smart about it.
You have to be smart about it. But the difference is, like, you could show up to, like, January. You could show up there and demand it. There's nowhere really in Austin you can go. You're like, yeah. I mean, you just stand outside, but you don't have to go. You're not in the room with them, holding them accountable. So
that's why the lobbyists have all the control, because they purchase their seat in the room.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we allow it to happen. We let them put the laws in place to make that happen. At one time I was looking at going into government, and there was a real path that I could have taken to work towards that in the state Senate. But they make $7,000 a year, apparently. $7,000 a year for that job. How does any one of them do that as a career? They don't just have their own businesses making millions of dollars and being in Washington and at the Capitol 100% of their time. Well, let's say 90% of their time, because 10% of their time is vacationing.
Yeah.
They get more vacations than anybody, but they don't spend all their time doing that on $7,000 a year.
Yeah.
They just don't do it.
Yeah.
And their businesses would not survive with them being in Washington and in Austin for that much time to be able to afford them to do all those things. These people don't come in independently wealthy.
But they leave independently wealthy, don't they?
They leave.
I wonder how that happens.
They sure do.
There's some people that track, because I guess it has to be disclosed, like politicians when they're buying and selling stocks of what they're buying and selling.
Oh yeah.
There's some people that just buy and sell based off what they do. Why are you buying all these stocks? Why are you selling all these stocks? What do you know that I don't know? Yeah, it's a hate to get paranoid, but yeah, it's a. I mean, look at the education system in Texas. We haven't been funded in years. Why?
Right.
Because private companies that run private schools are trying to get the voucher program in Texas. So they're withholding. Someone, we'll say GA, is withholding funding school districts because of the voucher program. Guess who's going to make money off of it? Just saying. Just saying.
Yeah, and that's the sad thing about what's happened. And I think it's good that we went ahead and jumped into that, even though that's not really necessarily what this program is about, because we are in the voting season. It is time to get out there and do your primary votes. Mm-hmm. And I'm asking you guys, I don't care who you vote for, but educate yourself, man. And don't just go off of who you think is going to win. Oh my gosh, I could not be more disappointed than all of our choices that we have in our government right now.
Yeah.
It just makes me ill that our society is in such a toilet bowl that our choices are the ones that they are, and our front runners are the ones that they are. And I'm sorry if you're staunch on one way or the other. That's fine. I'm just saying I would much rather have more intelligent choices than what we have.
Yeah. Well, really, it doesn't matter what side of the line you're on, because you got
It's all
politicians from
blurred.
both sides doing the same
Yeah.
crap. Like you could like, well, I really like what Abbott's doing down south right now. Well, fine, but it's no coincidence that he's doing it now, right? When he's had all
Right.
this time to do something about it. So I mean, he knows his voters are conservative, so he's doing something dramatic and conservative, right around
Right.
time for elections. There's no coincidence. So I mean, whoa, who'd have thought? And then once the
Right. It's
elections are
always
over,
funny. It's always funny. County, the county gets out and mows the grass, on the right of ways, right before elections. It's always funny how that
yeah,
happens.
because people have short memories. Never mind the fact that they did
Yeah.
nothing for the rest of their election, right? And
Right.
once the elections are over, they'll go back to doing nothing. It's what you do right before the
Yes.
elections, right? Let's mow right before elections. Let's fix that road that everyone's complaining about right before the elections, and then sit back
Yes.
and do nothing. Yep.
Right. It's a shame. It's a shame, but it all goes back to ignorance and our willingness to educate ourselves. And I think we got way off of where we started, but I am so proud of the lodges that we have where brothers are taking an active position in educating themselves so that they can be not only better Masons, but that's what drives them to be better humans and better equipped to read all the BS that's going on in the world and disseminate the good and the bad and understand that these are two opposite people doing the exact same thing. So now let's disseminate, what's going to be best for our country based off that. You know, as we create intelligent people, we can find intelligent outcomes in the processes that we have in place.
Yep.
That's the reality, and that's what we need, and that's what Freemasonry has to offer. That's what we're teaching in our ritual, is to become more intelligent, more spiritual, be more in tuned with what's going to not only help yourself, but what's going to help those around you. Because if we don't bring up the masses will pull us down.
Absolutely. What are your
Yeah.
final thoughts? Where do you want me to go?
Yeah, we went way off everywhere, so it's hard to draw final thoughts. And I want to apologize, brothers. I had shoulder surgery this past week. On Thursday, I had shoulder surgery. In fact, a brother, called me a beast the other day because I said, yeah. And yesterday morning, I was I went down an hour away uh, to speak on Hermetic principle and Scottish Rite and different, and actually the entered apprentice degree. That's what it was on, and I wanted to bring in the mystery schools into it. And then I told him, I'm writing for another presentation I'm going to give at Alamo Lodge number 44 on Wednesday, and he uh he made the comment that I'm a beast. Well, really, I'm just medicated.
Hey,
So who knows?
whatever
Who knows
works.
how much depth is really, transpiring in these conversations and how much good is really happening. Just kidding. I think that it's still pretty good, but I do want to apologize because I am a little bit out of it, and so I do let myself get a little bit off course on some things. But one thing that's for sure is that I'm all in for Masonry. I'm all in for our brothers, and I thank everyone that show up week in and week out on our lives and support our show. Not only spiritually but financially. We have people that support us through our YouTube channel, and and even with our events and things like that. That's exciting, and I'm honored and humbled that you uh, think enough about what we say to do that, to help us to get that message out there. because there are brothers out there that do feel like they're on an island, whether we want to, uh, whether we like it or not. That is the reality of where we are, and things are getting better. We're in a culture right now that is just full of exponential growth potential that we have not seen in years.
Exponential growth potential. I like that.
You like that? You like that? You would think I should be a politician.
You definitely
But
definitely throwing
but
out some rhymes tonight.
come on now, don't get me laughing. I'll get sidetracked. But the reality is though is that we've never been in a better position to take the wisdom that of our ancestors, the wisdom from all these brothers that put in so much time and effort, just like we do, to write our papers and present and to travel around. That's not new. We're doing the same thing that our brothers did anciently, and they did it without reward. They did it. The reward was for society to become better, so that we could be a better people, so that our children will grow up in a nicer place than the dark ages that these people were a part of when Freemasonry came about, which is really when Freemasonry came about. A lot of people, think about Freemasonry in the Enlightenment period, and yes, it really did grow big time in the Enlightenment period, because that was what it was all about, pretty much. But it was really, Freemasonry came out of the despair of the Dark Ages. The necessity came out of the Dark Ages. And so here we are, and we've never been in a more primed position to take advantage of the Enlightenment period of today, this Renaissance that started a few years back and has been building and building to this point, to where we finally got our voice back, and we're finally able to openly and honestly and sincerely discuss the things that truly impact our lives without judgment and persecution. We're at that place now. So, and we're at that place in our lodges, even in the Bible Belt of Texas. We're there.
I have to ask, because I know you're medicated. Is this your final thought, or are we just talking?
Yeah, this is
okay.
This is part
well,
of
normally you don't like to go first. That's why I was wondering.
Right. Well,
but
I'll
you're
let
on
you
a
go.
roll. Go, keep going. I didn't mean to sidetrack you. I just be sure we're on the same page here.
Okay. So we have been on an island, and we still have people on that island. So we can't think that our work is done. Now is the time that we need you, all of you who have believed in us. We need you to step up and push it that little bit further. Look at Brother Brad Hoff and Royce City Lodge. Man, they got it going on. The guys in Goliad, they've got it going on. Triune Lodge in San Antonio. Man, Worshipful Master Carlos Cantu has got it freaking going on. I mean, every year they have built upon each other until now. That lodge is just a beast of lodges, and they've got it going on. Alamo 44 has always had it going on, because their whole persona is education, intellectual and spiritual growth. That's their whole thing. And fellowship. They love fellowship. So all three of those things combined create an experience like no other that really attracts the next level Masons into our fraternity. So all you brothers who have been listening to us and encouraging us, I want to encourage you. I want to be your cheerleader. If you need assistance on getting to the next level, just tell me how I can help. I'm happy to help. I want to help you to succeed so that you can take it to the next level in your area, and we can grow this thing the way it deserves to be grown, which is with Freemasonry and not just fish fries. And I'm not saying that those are all bad, but I'm just saying that they're not all good either. Steak dinners are nice also.
Time and place for everything. Right?
That's right. That's right. But if you're out there on your own, let us know. We're happy to help. Guys, if you're in places like Kenya and other places like that, we can't help you become a Mason. You have to join locally. If you're within an area that our jurisdiction recognizes, then we can tell you where a lodge is, but you still have to go and you have to make that initial step. This is not an online fraternity. This is not a good old boy system to where I'm going to try and get you in somewhere so that you can grease my pocket later. That's not going to happen. It's just not. And if I think that somebody's trying to get in for that reason, I'm definitely not going to recommend you for my fraternity. So if that's what you're trying to get, I'm sorry it's not so readily available. Keep listening to the show. Listen to other shows. Get your enlightenment through the web experience. If that's the only thing you got, I get it. But you got to accept that that's it. Don't think that we're going to be some magic key to get you rich. That's not how it works. So, brothers out there, the way to an enriched life is education. The Spirit of God is in us all. It's the electricity that sparks through our mind, pumps our heart. Everything that keeps us going, that's a mystery to us still. And the best thing we can do is feed our intellect so that our conscience develops and becomes worthy of that responsibility given to us. Brothers, we love you. We thank you. Keep it between the points.
Good. It's good. I can't top that. And just remind everybody. Slow down the process. Take your time on your Freemasonry. Take your time with who you let in. Also, we're going to be meeting with the Inner Circle pretty soon about our retreat. We need to start getting that planned. So if you're Inner Circle, be on standby. Keep an eye out on the GroupMe and not the GroupMe, the Inner Circle group on Facebook. And we'll be talking soon on that and getting a Zoom together to discuss that. And I'll also put a link for the Inner Circle. So if you're interested in ad-free content, in-person events, hopping in our Inner Circle Zoom sometimes, that's the way to go, man. But you're welcome.
Oh,
Brother Stewart.
And pay attention.
What
did he say?
He's always asking me to mention slowing down the process, so I just had to be sure to mention that.
Brother Stewart.
Cody Stewart. But
Cody Stewart.
Yeah,
man, I love you, Cody. I love you.
Yeah, he's great.
I'm glad you're on. Thank you for joining us again tonight.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
Brother Stewart has a Masonic regalia company as well. Oh my gosh. It's the medication that's got me. I'm sorry, Cody.
I didn't know he had a regalia company.
Type in the deal what your company's name is. It's Light Creations. No, I am so sorry. I feel like such an ass. Cody, tell me what your company name is. Well, at least I knew about it. I didn't even know.
That's true.
He makes all the name tags for Grand Lodge and a bunch of different products for our fraternity, and he does a magnificent job. He does portfolios, he does mugs, he does name tags, he does
Eternity Creations.
Eternity Creation. Yes. Go to Eternity Creations and get some good stuff from Cody. He's got stuff for everyday life, and he's always full of joy and the spirit, and we love him. And And not only does he feel it, but he knows it. He's an instructor. He's one of our committee on work members. He's awesome. So he knows the ritual inside and out, and can also tell you what it means, which is why you need to slow down and learn what it means, learn what you're a part of. Yes.
The man.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
All right, everybody. We'll see y'all soon. Thanks for coming.
Pay attention to what Grand Lodge is doing. They're doing good stuff.
Absolutely.
Make sure and attend the events. If they're within 100 miles of you, attend the event.
Yep.
You should be there.